Oh, yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen out there in YouTube land. I am Deleted Scenes, and I want to welcome you to this week's episode of The Other Side of Midnight. I want to thank everyone who watched last week's episode for making it the second most watched episode so far, and my third most watched live stream. Already in the chat, we have Last Call, Trepacelli. Plush Time TV, who wants to remind us that it is 9/11. It is an important day to remember and to respect all that lost their lives on that day. Indeed, I brought that up earlier on my earlier program. We have the one and only infamous Jedi Bill. Jedi Bill, host of karaoke streams, chill streams, and Western Cinema Sunday, where I joined him for a watch party for a few dollars more. Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef. I simulcasted that broadcast on my channel. If you have not yet had a chance to see it, please do so. Give Bill and I a thumbs up. We also have Deep Henzak. Aged Boomer. Jesse has also joined us. And Netters Network. All right. Yes, you did hear correctly. Last week's show did very well, and I'm very happy. This show's doing pretty well in general. It's pretty much the most popular show I do, so I'm very happy about that. In the chat, Tim Hayes. Why are you blue? Because I made you a wrench. Out of apologies for your getting yeeted from the chat earlier today. Yeah, this is actually kind of a funny story. It happens from time to time where a chat will be going by very fast and a wrench will accidentally yeet someone from the conversation. And Jesse was on my channel for Western Cinema Presents earlier today. And that very thing happened. One of my wrenches accidentally deleted him from the chat. So now you are a wrench. So that sort of thing probably won't happen again. Let me see. You might want to remind Tom, since he was still in Culture's live stream. Yes, Culture Casino's live stream, where our tonight's guest Tom Connors is on the panel, is running a little bit late tonight. So we're going to give Tom a little time, and then when everything is finished up over here, he's going to jump right on in over here. All right, let me jump back up here because I do know we had a couple of questions that we missed. Deep Henzak asks, looking to upgrade to 4K, what brand or model do you recommend? I would recommend the Sony Ultra HD. I got mine from Best Buy for about $100. Actually, maybe even a little bit less than that at that time. And that was on advice from Tom and also Greg Fanzine Vids suggested that one to me. So that's the one I have, and it's working out pretty well so far. The thing with me is I do not have a 4K television set right now. You know, mainly because the one I have right now is working perfectly fine, and you know, I don't really want to change it out. But the thing is, even that way with HD, you know, you can still, you know, see the difference. You know, the movie that sold me on 4K was The Thing. And The Thing is a movie I have seen easily 100 times. And this time around, it was like I had never seen the movie before, you know, because the details that you could see that I personally never noticed before. Um, well, there's also the fact that there were, you know, little bits and pieces of scenes put back into the movie that were not there before. I don't want to call it a director's cut because it's not really that. Um, Plot wise, nothing really changes, but there are just, you know, little bits at the beginning and the ends of certain scenes that kind of added to it. And seeing in particular the various incarnations of the Thing in such detail, you know, I was never really scared watching that movie ever before because I was so busy trying to figure out who was the Thing that I kind of forgot to be scared. This time I watched it and I was really creeped out. You know, because I went, gee, this is kind of unpleasant, isn't it? You know, there's like an arm growing out of someplace where an arm shouldn't be. You know, but it's pretty. That was the movie that finally sold me on 4K. So that's the one that I really recommend. That once you buy your machine, get yourself a copy of the Thing, because that's you know, it's kind of like when I saw Blu-ray for the first time. Um, the movie that sold me on Blu-ray was 2001 because of the detail there. But with the Thing on in 4K, I was just like, okay, you got me. But yeah, going back, I'm hijacking my own show. But yeah, get the Sony because it's inexpensive and works pretty well. All right, let me scroll down. Plush Time is saying, I lost permissions to stream on YouTube a while ago for good reason. Well, yeah, there are there are a lot of rules, bunch of hoops you have to jump through sometimes. A family member of mine decided to take my phone and live streamed in a typically inappropriate location. He was only 11. Yeah. Honestly, YouTube is not really for kids. Um, you know, I mean, there are things there are channels that you can go to. There are things you can watch. It's perfectly fine for a kid. But I tell you, a lot of the channels I watch, they're kind of inappropriate, and because of subject matter or language. And obviously, if you've watched my shows, you know that like those channels, I go there. So anybody who watched Unscripted earlier tonight, um, I go there, and I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. But yeah, you just got to make sure the kid doesn't have the remote, or the computer or the phone or anything like that. All right, let's go down. Boomer says, I want to see Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that myself. For those who may not know, um, if you remember from 2007, the movie Grindhouse, um, which was made up of Planet Terror and Death Proof by Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. Now, during the course of that movie, there are like fake trailers interspersed throughout the film, and Machete came from that. Hobo with a Shotgun came from that, and it was there were like different directors for each trailer. Like Edgar Wright did one, and Rob Zombie did one. Eli Roth did Thanksgiving, which was this slasher movie that takes place during Thanksgiving. And now we're finally going to get that film with a different cast than what was in the trailer back in the day. But yeah, I mean, hopefully it'll be good. It could be a fun one. Eli Roth is kind of hit and miss with me personally. But, we'll see. It's definitely one I'll give it a chance. Jesse says, this is the second time I was given the blue power up. Right on. How old were you when you first started watching R-rated movies? Okay, how old was I when my parents started letting me watch R-rated movies, or how old was I when I was actually watching R-rated movies? Okay, here's what happened. The first R-rated movie I saw was Alien. And it was on cable TV. So I was probably like about 7 years old. I might have still been 6. I don't know, but still very young. And Alien came out in 79, so I would have been 6. And it usually took a year for a movie to go from theatrical to cable. That's how long of a wait it used to be. So, yeah, that was the first R-rated movie I actually saw. But it was kind of the same thing that happened with The Thing. Was I was so wrapped up, with the production design and what the alien was going to look like from scene to scene, because it never looks the same way twice in that movie. You get the entire life cycle of the xenomorph in that movie. So I got so wrapped up in that I forgot to get scared. So it really wasn't a scary movie for me. you know but the point in the movie that started to work, where I did start to get a little worried, was when, all right, the only actor in it that I really knew was Tom Skerritt. You got to remember, this was like Sigourney Weaver's, it was like her second movie. She had a small part in a Woody Allen movie previous to that, but she hadn't been in another movie aside from that till Alien. So she's not Sigourney Weaver yet. You don't know she's going to survive the movie. She was the actor everybody else didn't know. So you're kind of half expecting her. Technically she should have died first, because she was the least well-known cast member, and that's usually how it worked. Characters in these sort of movies died in the descending order of how recognizable they were. So the only actor I really knew at that point was Tom Skerritt. So I'm like, okay, he's the star of the movie, which he was. He's the captain of the ship. He's going to figure out what's going on. And he's eventually he's gonna kill the monster and save the day. And he's not going to be able to save the entire crew, but maybe he'll save some of them. And then halfway through the movie, he's taken away. And then you're like, shit, who's the who's the hero going to be? And that's when I really started to get worried. And then that's when Sigourney, as Ripley, finally kind of starts to take over the movie from there on. And it becomes the legendary movie that it became. So that was the first R-rated movie I saw. So I was like about 6 or 7 years old. But my parents think I was a few years older. Just put it that way. The first R-rated movie I actually saw in theaters was DC Cab, with Adam Baldwin and Mr. T. And that's kind of a long, drawn out story as to how that wound up happening. But as far as R-rated movies go, if they cut out or tone down maybe like 3 or 4 little bits, that probably would be a PG-13 movie today. Shirality in the house. Good to see you. Plush Time TV says, I'm streaming on Twitch tomorrow. Do you want to be my first guest? If I can. I don't know. I might be booked tomorrow night. I'm kind of I'm trying to leave Monday open because I'm waiting to hear back from a couple of people on some other things. But if I can get over there, I will. So good luck. Good luck with the show. All right. Let me scroll down. Shirality says he was 13 when he saw the Terminator. Yeah, let's see. That was 84 Terminator. So I would have been 11. But I didn't see Terminator in theaters. I didn't see it until it came out on cable. Jesse says, there's a sequel to The Thing in the form of a PS1 game, and it picks up right after the movie. I am aware of that game. And I actually did play part of it before the PS1 machine I had went down for the count. So I don't know how that game ends. Kinda. No, they are inappropriate. Let me know what you mean there, Tim. I was just thinking age Gen Xer would have the same age, would it? Yeah. All right, let me scroll down. Everybody's saying hello to one another. Jedi Bill says Friday the 13th first, then Alien and The Exorcist. Says I've been watching R-rated movies since age 10 back in 1982, almost 51 now. Yeah. All righty. Well, while we have a few minutes here, I want to remind everybody who maybe didn't see last week's show to go ahead and do that, because I had Jedi Bill on as a guest, and also Connie Cleary, and we had a lot of fun. We were just kind of being ourselves for 2 hours, and yeah, it just kind of went from there. So I'm glad that episode did well. The thing you have to understand about YouTube is you never quite know what's going to work with what audience until you do it, really. And I have videos that have a 600 views, and that I have videos that have like 4 views, so I never really know what's going to work until I do it. So having people compliment me for videos at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun. It says, hey, deleted scenes, do you know about spotted lanternflies? Nope. Can't say as I'm an authority. No. I always wondered which is the most scariest monster movie ever. I mean, it kind of depends on who you ask, doesn't it? I know with me, the movies that have scared me the most, the monsters tend to be very human. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was scary when I saw it, but it's not a monster movie. Poughkeepsie Tapes is not a monster movie. I mean, it is, but it's a human monster. But I don't know. Again, it depends on who you ask. It might be Alien to some people. It might be Godzilla for some people. It might be The Thing. it could be Jaws. A lot of people find Jaws to be scary. I never really did, but Jaws is something that could happen. Yet people get eaten by sharks. It happens. Um, I think it's all a matter of kind of personal taste, really. Um, it says, for me, the scariest part of TCM is the hitchhiker scene. Yeah. The hitchhiker is played by an actor named Edwin Neal. And he's very creepy in the movie. He's kind of like the first of the villains that you see. And I actually heard kind of a funny story. And spoilers for a nearly 50-year-old film. The scene where the hitchhiker gets run over by the truck at the end, and they have that shot of him where he's face down in the pavement. He actually got burned because it was so hot, and he's got his face against the asphalt. And he's because he was in Vietnam, and he was former military before he became an actor, and he said, you know, when I was 19, I was leading 32 men through triple canopy jungle, not knowing where Charlie was going to come from next. But Texas was worse, So Texas Chainsaw is definitely a scary one. When they got to the dinner scene, that's when I wanted out. But there's only like 10 minutes of the movie after that, so it's like at that point you may as well stay. Jesse says the first Jeepers Creepers scared the hell out of me and my high school friends. Yeah. The director of that movie's pretty scary too when you look into his background. But yeah, I can see where Jeepers Creepers could creep somebody out. Yeah. I'll give them props for that ending. Jedi Bill says Jaws isn't scary until you go swimming in the ocean. Yeah. Like I said, plush time. I'll try. I can't guarantee. I'm usually pretty busy around 5 or 6 p.m. Like I said, I'm waiting to hear back from a couple of people on a stream that I might be doing, but I'll try to stop by if I can. I can't guarantee it, but I'll try. And I can't guarantee how long I'll be able to stay. But either way, good luck with the show. Yeah. And hello, Admiral Teague. All right. Let me see. Have you experienced the spotted lantern flies? Are they invading you like my entire city? No. No trouble here. you know. Thank you guys for the movie earlier. Great gift. Yeah, that was a fun one. Yeah. Bill and I watched for a few dollars more. It's a good movie. Starring Clint Eastwood, but it's really Lee Van Cleef's movie, if you ask me. It's his character that really moves the story along. So we're here in Pittsburgh. They are invading, and I mean invading. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is the first time hearing about it. So so now I really haven't had any issues with it here. In case anybody wants an update on what's going on over on Culture's channel, it looks like they are looking at pictures of Emma Stone, so I can understand why they're kind of taking their time over there. Yeah, I've been hearing some things about her new movie that are kind of giving me pause about seeing it. So, yeah, like I said, all I've seen so far of that movie is the trailer, and I wasn't all that impressed by it. But I'm not impressed by most trailers anymore. You've probably seen them, haven't identified them. They might jump on you. All right. Well, we'll jump off that bridge when it happens. Seems like you're running out of things to talk about. No, I am not running out of things to talk about. There are other things I can talk about. Now, all right. As a lot of you know, in addition to this program, I do a show called Unscripted. Now, the point of Unscripted is during the week, I pick a subject, something going on, in pop culture or in the news, and I'll give my opinion on it. It is an opinion show, first and foremost, So if I say something during the course of that show where people will, disagree with me, which I fully expect, it's totally fine, and the show tonight, and hello to Joker Voice. The point of the show tonight was about opinions, about allowing people to have their opinion, and what I talked about mostly was the backlash that happened against heel versus babyface, and Nina Infinity over their opinions on the Starfield video game. And they tried to cancel Az over his statements about pronouns within the game, and there was some really heinous shit that people said to Nina online about when she put out her opinion about the game, which was less than favorable. Az had things that he liked about it, but near as I can tell, opinions on the game itself, which I have to admit I have not played, so I don't really. All I've really All I really know about it are just like the little snippets of gameplay that I've seen on various channels. Now, I made the point in that show, and like Joker Voice says here, everyone is entitled to their opinion, no matter how wrong it is. Yeah, or how right it might be. The point is that we have overgrown children out there that need to learn to agree to disagree. And you know, threatening someone with what I refer to on the show as grievous bodily harm because they don't like a video game. I mean, I'm sorry, that's out of line, and it's something that I'm not going to put up with if I ever see it. And it's always amazing to me how how people who claim to be tolerant or people who claim to be feminists but the first time a woman says something that they disagree with, they tend to be fairly misogynist. They do the very thing that they accuse us of doing. So that's what I'm trying to work against. um, Long story short, I'm going to throw my support behind Az and Nina because they have a right to their opinion without being canceled or threatened, and that's basically what this show today was about. Joker Voice says, I have no opinion on Starfield or gaming in general. I'm not a gamer, thus I stay out of that realm of fandom. Yeah, I don't know enough about it either. So, I don't have a dog. I don't have a dog in that hunt. It's just that there are these two YouTubers that I respect. And they didn't ask me to do this show today. I did it on my own. And but I wanted to communicate the fact that at least on my channel, differing opinions are going to be heard. If I say something that someone disagrees with, give me the chance to explain, hear me out, and I will hear you out. Just don't be like a jerk about it or anything, That's all I really ask. Jesse says, I am a gamer. It's just that Starfield is not my cup of tea. Um, I tell you, on its own, it looks good. I'll give it that. Um, I do know that people have had issues with the game glitching. I haven't seen enough of that to see that happen, but it's not. It doesn't look bad. It's just that they throw this, you know, they throw this 2023 agenda crap into it when they don't need to. And this is what Az was talking about, and people forget, there are things about that game that he praised. They took 2.5 minutes. They took 2.5 minutes out of what were hours of gameplay. And that's what they tried to cancel him on. Let me see. Plush Time had a question in the chat where he was talking about doing morning shows. I did a morning show for a little while with a fella named Matt Allen, who is no longer on YouTube. He's kind of retired from YouTube now. And we did a show called Saturday Serial. That was like it was like an entertainment week in review kind of. It was kind of along the lines of Geeky Geezers, of what Geeky Geezers does. And what happened? Yeah, that would be pretty safe to say. It was very much along the line of Geeky Geezers. It was like about an hour and a half, and I had met Matt on another stream, on another channel, and I started watching his show. We got friendly through the chat, and then he brought me on as a guest. And then eventually he asked me to co-host a show with him. So that's how I ended up, doing live shows as like a co-host. That was like my first co-hosting gig. And when Matt got married and moved over here to America, because he's from the UK, and kind of started his own business up here in the US, and he decided basically to leave YouTube. And there was some talk of me maybe bringing that show back in some capacity. But right now, I just, with my schedule being the way it is, I really don't have the time to do it. But it's something that I am keeping in mind. So yeah, you said, how about a morning show on the weekends? Yeah, I used to do a morning show on the weekends. It's just that right now, with my work schedule being what it is, I can't do a morning show. So that's out. But I used to do one. It's just no longer a thing. But I think it's still up. I think those shows are still up somewhere. So. Joker Voice says, sorry to comment and run, but I got to start getting ready for work. Everyone have a great night, Toodles. Good night, Joker Voice. Age Boomer says, Geeky Geezers, what's that? Yeah. All right. All right. I have just heard back from Tom. Unfortunately, he is not going to be able to make the show tonight. Between Culture Show going late and and of course, obviously, he's very busy tomorrow. There is a morning show, and he has some things to do behind the scenes as well. So it looks like we're going to have to push this back to next week, where we can bring Tom on, which is perfectly fine. You know, we have been discussing this behind the scenes. Tom was originally supposed to be on last week, and we kind of got our wires crossed, and I didn't send him a link. So that's how Bill and Connie ended up on last week's show instead. But yeah, unfortunately, Tom's not going to be able to make it tonight, so we're going to try for next week, and which is perfectly fine. That'd probably be a lot easier. But no, that's okay. You still got me, and I'm going to stay on for a few minutes anyway. And I want to remember. And then you're. Well, hold on. Maybe not. Hold on.
Well,
holy smokes, you did it.
Say hi at least.
Hello, Tom. All righty. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw my message or not, but
I did. I just saw it. Yeah.
So I figured I'd pop in for at least 10-15 minutes for you.
Okay, no problem. We'll do kind of like a quick we'll do like,
and if somebody wants to fill in for me afterwards, that's up to you. So
okay. All right. So my first question on this show is usually kind of, what is your YouTube origin story? You know, how did Tom Connors become Midnight's Edge After Dark?
Well, that in and of itself might be a 10-15 minute story, but we can kind of do the full thing next week, but I guess I'll give you the quick rundown. I had already been trying to do YouTube stuff for quite a few years already. I was part of a lot of Facebook groups, especially after the IMDb forums shut down, and Midnight's Edge was one of the groups I frequented quite often, and I kind of spoke to Andre here and there casually in you know, in just a couple chat things and whatnot. And I'd sent him a few things here and there, but I didn't think nothing of it. And like I'm like, oh, if you want to use this image, because I got, you know, one day I got claimed for still images from Paramount and stuff like that. So, you know, I just pointed that out to him. I'm like, here you go. If you want to use this, what I'd made was took a pile of garbage and I just took the Paramount font and said Paramount of garbage. And yes. Anyway, so I don't know if he just liked my sense of humor or what, but like April of 2017, he sends me a message and he goes, "You want to?" He goes, I'm gonna call you if you can I get your number." And I'm like, "Well, I'm in the U.S." He's like, "That's fine. I can call international." I'm like, "All right, no problem." You know. And we're just talking for like a few minutes, not that long. And he goes like, you know, "Would you like to be a part of Midnight's Edge?" And I'm like, are you kidding? Is this like some kind of fucking joke? And it was like weird because at first, you know, he's talking to me. So like, I mean, the voice, just hearing his voice, you know, and everything, that voice for the first time, not in a video, it was just kind of weird, you know, just kind of, you know, thing. But yeah, I just I was like, sure. And then ever since then, it's just been one whirlwind after that. Here we are fucking 6 years later. But yeah, no, it's been a wild ride and it's a lot of fun.
So is there anything coming up for the channel that you can talk about, that you can announce right now? Or I know you just had the Graham Hancock interview that went up.
We do have a couple interviews that we haven't got out yet that I want to get finished up that we haven't yet. Those kind of things sometimes get pushed to the back burner. we always have like we're still in the middle of our He-Man retrospective series.
Mhm.
So there's usually something like that we're always working on in the background. And we've kind of discussed a few things here now that we know things might get slow because of the strike. But we've gotten fortunate that a lot of news is kind of still dropped in the meantime, like the
That
CNBC
has,
article and
yeah.
stuff. So I mean and that's kind of how it works. Is like we always have this short list of things we really want to get to, a long list of things we know we probably won't get to anytime soon, and then there's always something dropping in the meantime that kind of takes priority. And that happens quite often. So when we promise stuff, we don't mean to be like, oh, we're promising something and still not deliver X amount of years later. But sometimes shit just constantly gets pushed to the background. And also we launched Midnight's Edge Espanol and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, it's been like almost 2 years now, but it feels like it wasn't that long ago. But yeah, or maybe even more than 2 years now.
All right, going back to a minute about kind of breaking news, we got this article, concerning Chapek and Iger, and it looks like basically you called it from the start, really.
Well,
And
yeah,
yeah,
ourselves and a bunch of other YouTubers and stuff that we had heard and reported on and such. Yeah, it was kind of nice to see a lot of that stuff and kind of vindicating, and then even some new stuff to kind of chit chat about. So yeah, like I said, stuff like that kind of drops periodically that it just kind of keeps us going one way or the other. Hey,
and
runner.
hello, runner, good to see you. Runner saying hello, and a Dega Outlaw in the chat.
Yeah, and I see Tim
Dega
and a
Outlaw,
few others.
good to see everybody. All right, so yeah, I mean, where kind of where do you see this going? Because with me, I just I don't know what's going on over there at Disney. I can't figure it out. Are they allergic to money? It's just I've never seen a corporation self-destruct like this. I mean,
Yeah, I think hubris is the biggest aspect here. I mean, Bob Iger's hubris and his inability to see past his ego,
mhm.
I think, is the biggest thing that's bringing down Disney, which is hilarious because in his book, and if anybody's familiar with, you know, um, the Ride of a Lifetime book or anything that he's talked about in the past, I mean,
Mhm.
he's talked about how Eisner kind of brought the company down with his ego, and he's making the same mistake, only worse.
Yes.
Right? It's like 12-fold, even if not worse. And it's like, dude, you can't even really say shit about Eisner anymore. Eisner is like, I bet you the shareholders right now wish they could go back to the days of Eisner. But yeah.
Yeah. And the thing that I also find interesting, and at first this wasn't something I wanted to bring up, bring up on my show or anything at any point. But multiple people have now said that it was Iger that said to the writers that we're going to bleed you dry. That
Yeah,
statement has now
that
been
didn't help
attributed
him.
to him. That doesn't help at all. And
No, especially when he was
no.
seen as a savior of sorts, and now he's number one on everybody's hit list in Hollywood.
So yeah, I mean, it's almost like he's in such a bubble, and he's been surrounded so long by people who he's surrounded by these yes men that I think he genuinely believes it now.
Yeah, a lot of that
It's
is
just
probably the
the only
case, and
way
that's
I
probably
can.
why he's
Yeah.
kind of taken aback and surprised because all these people who were sucking his dick not too
Yeah.
long ago are the ones that are coming after him now. And it just shows you how fair weather a lot of these folks are. And again, that's like one of the biggest things of Hollywood and how fake so many of them are is they really just feed you full of bullshit and they just tell anybody what they want to hear. Right? Like, I mean, and it's a hustle, it's a con all the way through. Fake it till you make it is one of those sayings that's goes through Hollywood all the time. It's just Bob, I mean, he's one of those guys that he's so powerful that a lot of people wanted to be on his good side, but when the chips are down. It clearly shows you where a lot of these people, and I don't blame a lot. I'm like, it's like you're effing with their money. Like, I get it. I wouldn't want somebody effing with my money either, So I mean, it's a complicated issue. I have no real sympathy for either side. I feel a little bit sorrier for the writers. I wish they had some less wackier demands, so I could support them.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's like, let it burn, right? I mean,
It is.
I can't really blame both sides. I mean, and look, Bob can say that now, but in a year from now, when they got shit to release, he's gonna be feeling it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Jesse in the chat is saying, I think the problem with Disney is that they don't know their customers and they don't know the morons they hired. Case in point there was the Haunted Mansion movie. Which
is funny because I heard that wasn't so bad, but yeah.
It's actually pretty good. And they buried it. Not only did they bury it, they fired the director. And from what I understand, he pretty much fired him on Instagram, from the Lando series.
Well, I mean, that's the way Disney works from what we hear all the time.
So it's like, that it's like your list, of directors that have been fired, from Disney projects.
Yeah.
How long is that list now?
You can add a few to it. We learned of some other ones. I mean, even with a situation like Zack Snyder and his, project that he's doing now over at Netflix, not to stroke any of the Snyder boys' ego, but I mean, that was another at least rejected Star Wars project. It was never one that was at least announced. I mean, that's, I guess, the bigger thing is how many of these projects that have been announced compared to what we've seen released. And yeah, it's astonishing. So yeah.
With Rebel Moon, I almost have to wonder, this was so bad Kathleen Kennedy rejected it.
Right, exactly. And wow. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was whatever, but like I even pointed out to people myself, and a lot of the arguments with the Snyder Bros and all that is like, look, I mean, this thing was got a woman who's the key to everything, right? He also was talking about how important this non-binary character was in the story. So it clearly has all the hallmarks that they would want for a Disney Star Wars movie. So yeah, what was wrong with it that she rejected it? Right? Like that makes you wonder at that point. And at that point, Snyder wasn't seen as because I mean, I guess this was even right around the time of Man of Steel or whatever. So like that's the whole thing. He wasn't even seen as any kind of bad omen of any sorts or whatever you want to call it. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but yeah.
Yes, Boomer, there is a Lando series, and as of right now, Donald Glover is not only going to star, but is also going to be writing and directing as well. So
we'll see, but yeah.
At
least it's been announced. That's true.
It's been announced, so we'll see.
I mean, and that's the thing. Even at this point, you can't even trust the quote-unquote official announcements out of anything Star Wars in that sense. So yeah. And there's so many things changing behind the scenes with Marvel right now too. It makes you wonder what's going on. But no, I mean, we've all posited quite clearly that we all know that Disney will be the last of these companies to drop the woke.
Well, they've not only doubled and tripled down, they've quadrupled down.
Yeah, and I mean, Chapek tried to get him out of it, but And I mean, they kind of bring that up in that article, even though they bring it up as almost like it's a negative of sorts. But it's like, no, what Chapek was up to, and you can look, the proof is in the pudding. When in March of 2021 they had hit over $200 in their stock. I don't remember the exact number. I think it was like 202.98 or something like that, and that was an all-time high for them. So, and that wasn't during the time of any of the Avengers films that came out, the Infinity War stuff. None of that. This was all post. This is when he had taken over and he was doing his moves and changing some things up. So I mean, to me, I think that tells you a lot. And I mean, Disney Plus was kind of doing well under his regime. Now, was there good and bad? Oh yeah, there's plenty of bad, but there was some good. And he greenlit Deadpool 3 as an R-rated film, which was something that Chapek or Bob Iger was reportedly very against, and that's what stalled that film for so long. Because I mean, that was always one of those ones that was like a no-brainer. It was like, well, of course you're going to do a Deadpool 3, especially now that you can bring in any Marvel character you want. I mean, it makes total sense. But I mean, that's finally going to come to fruition, hopefully next year for us as viewers, if not the year after, because of the delay. But no, I don't think Disney has much on their plate right now outside of Avatar, and it really makes me wonder how much money they're seeing off of that because of all the preordained deals that were a part of it. I don't know if that was just for part 2 or if 3, 4, and whatever were involved with that. So from what we heard over the whole thing with Avatar, they didn't see as much money as they like to make you think they did. So yeah, well, and then we also heard that part of the reason they were able to show it on Disney Plus at the same time it was on Max was they had to buy out certain rights and stuff. So yeah, who knows exactly what they really made off that movie, if anything.
Yeah, because you can't trust the numbers from the studios. You can't trust
No.
You can't trust the numbers. I don't know. Can you really trust Samba TV at all? I mean, who do you go to?
I mean,
anymore?
Samba technically, unless there's, I mean, from what I can tell, they're just reporting numbers, right? And they're just an app that's installed to do just that, right? It isn't on everybody's app, no, but there's a number that they pool, and people like Culture Casino and others have kind of sat down and figured out that roughly when the final numbers come out, the Samba numbers are pretty much a third of what the actual audience is. So you can kind of extrapolate from there about how many people are watching, basically, unless you have some bullshit lies like Disney was trying to pull with Ahsoka, which perhaps worldwide they had that many viewers, but a lot of people are really skeptical of that considering how low the Samba numbers were. And you would have to multiply that by 3 over the world. And Star Wars just isn't that popular outside of the US. It is in some places, but not very many. So normally I don't see how this would, because the way it works out is, okay, we'll go by the numbers that Samba gave us. That means they did it 3 times. That's where I was getting it. Because like the Samba number was like 1 point something million. I can't remember what it was. We sat down and figured it out. And it was right around 4 million viewers then in the US, according to Samba. And I guess they said, 14, 15 million watched it, according to the Disney report that came out. And that was views, actually, we should say, not actual viewers. So they're even playing with the words now. So again, you're right. Like, you can't really trust anything that comes out of them. But as far as Samba goes, like, they don't have anything to gain or lose either way, right? They're not like, under my understanding, they're not like Parrot Analytics, to where Parrot Analytics is just that. They're a company that, you can just quote them as saying whatever you really want them to say, and they'll find some bullshit data to back it up. Most famously, as we've said before, like, Star Trek was something that they always said was the most popular thing, a trending thing or whatever. It's like they weren't factoring in that a lot of people were saying like Discovery sucks. You know what I mean? But anyway.
And what constitutes a view?
That was the other thing everybody was debating, because that's
Yeah.
the thing, is all these different streaming services have their different idea of what constitutes a view, and they put in the one article what the equation was, and it's like, even if you go by that, it's really difficult to kind of factor it out, because it doesn't mean, it says it's like they figure it's a certain percentage of how much is actually available to watch or whatever, and I can't remember exactly how they quantify it, but I mean, we sat down and figured out it could be anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes, or 15 minutes. I mean, 5 and 15 minutes, I think we figured, is what they're figuring as a view, but that could be very well, we don't even know. We'd have to go back and refigure the math, and we don't, you'd have to sit down and actually figure out the exact amount of play time there is in one of the videos, and then multiply it by that factor and all that shit, or divide it, whatever. You know what I mean? Do some maths. And if somebody hasn't done it already, I'm sure that it wouldn't be too hard to do, but yeah, it's just a matter of figuring it out. But yeah,
math's racist.
yeah, like different places are different how much time they consider a view.
Yeah. Runner had a question in the chat asking, what if Snyder added the non-binary stuff later when Netflix got a hold of
potentially, but I know you like Runner. I know you like Snyder Runner, but I would not put too much hope behind this, man. But it might be all right for him. Good riddance to the fucking fans as far as like getting them away from DC and getting them Go on to something original. Who cares? They can go bug Star Wars people for all I give a shit. They
Yeah.
deserve it.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. I mean, and I'm not going to go too far into it in this episode, but
Right.
I had some. I had a run in on a certain Patreon page that will remain nameless, that I'm no longer involved with, over Star Wars, and
Mm.
you know what, that fandom left me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't leave that fandom. That
Yeah,
fandom
there's
left
this
me.
last
You know?
vestige of people who just
Yeah.
want to believe that there's somebody there who's gonna save it, like a last hope, a new hope kind of thing. But it's not. Filoni isn't that hope.
No.
Whatever Favreau was doing to kind of bring that spark back has been snuffed out. At the time, I've said this before. I mean, at the time, I didn't think Gina Carano was that big of a deal to the whole overall scheme of things, but I guess she was a little bit more than we thought. And if not, that was just a battle that behind the scenes Favreau lost, and at that moment he kind of lost all his power too. And it also kind of lines up with when supposedly Kathleen Kennedy was told to drop all the blood and bone shit and get back over and worry about what's going on at Lucasfilm.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, most of us have agreed as pundits that was one of the few bad things that Chapek tried to do while he was in office. But yeah, that's all I can really say about that part of it.
Yeah, it's the whole thing is just unfortunate because it's very hard for me to get hyped for anything anymore because it's because of that. It's like Star Wars shit. Yeah, where do I sign? I can't just rubber stamp everything because it has Star Trek or it has Star Wars, stamped on it anymore. Because
Yeah.
it's just I'm. And another thing is I'm somebody who used to go to the movies like twice a week,
Mm-hmm.
really, or at least see two movies in one day, one or the other. Now
Right.
I can barely be bothered to go once a month.
No, I hear you.
Because
Yeah.
it's so hard to get hyped, and then and everything is just kind of meh. It's just like, okay, it's a one and done. I mean,
Mhm.
there have been some good movies this year. Sound of Freedom is very good. I just
Yeah.
saw Equalizer 3. That movie's a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Andre called Equalizer 3 Denzel Washington's Unforgiven, and he's right. It's
Mhm.
exactly what it is. But it's like if there's something that I want to see on the big screen, like a
Mhm.
Mission Impossible movie or an Equalizer 3 or or something like that, then I'll go. But for just any random, now, I'll ride the high seas if it comes to it.
Wow.
And we are not condoning that. We are not
No, but
condoning
that's just
riding
it.
the
And
high
I
seas.
understand is like,
But
a lot of the more experimental stuff or
yeah,
movies that would probably not be considered your typical superhero, whatever kind of stuff or
mm-hmm.
action stuff. Like, yeah, that used to be your mid-level movies, and now that's called kind of turned into streaming platform stuff. And I mean,
Right.
even when the TV shows are competing with movies now, I mean, what are you going to do? It's kind of like escalating on itself in a way.
It is.
But yeah.
But it's so hard to get hyped.
Hmm.
It really is.
No, I hear you.
But you know, um, but and the other thing was, the strike has now thrown uh, the schedule off because now we're not getting Ghostbusters until next year, and we're not getting Dune until next year,
Yeah.
and
I was always wondering if
yeah,
Ghostbusters wasn't going to get delayed anyway, just simply because they were still shooting it so late
yeah,
that
there's
I'm
that
just
too.
like, I was like, I just don't see how they're going to finish this movie by Christmas. It just does. I mean, I could be wrong, but yeah, I don't know.
And Runner is saying in the chat, just FYI, I've had some issues with some of the things Snyder has said recently when it comes to the virtue signaling he's done lately, like the non-binary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me look forward to RM less, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. And hello to Brett Cohen. Um, Rebel Moon is something I would have been hyped for at one time,
Hmm.
but now I saw that trailer and I didn't feel a thing. You've got Anthony Hopkins giving this great monologue through this, and I'm just okay. It's Disney Star Wars, but it looks like somebody shit on the lens. And it's in slow motion.
Hmm.
I felt absolutely nothing, and I'm feeling that way about a lot of things lately, and it's just I I can't get hyped.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of hype for a lot right now
No.
either. Very few things. Yeah, Dune 2, Ghostbusters 4 maybe. Perhaps Deadpool 3, but other than that, like, yeah, I'm real
Mhm.
pressed to say, "Oh yeah, that's something I've been really looking forward to, or I've been really wanting to see, or I'm upset that it may have gotten delayed or anything like that." In fact, I'm like, good, maybe some of these projects will die on the vine because yeah, I'm just getting to that point where I look, I love sequels and franchises. I'm not gonna lie. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
that's my bread and butter. That's what we do, genre entertainment. I mean, a big part of that is clearly something has to become, a known entity for us to really cover it. I mean, sure, we try to cover things that are new and original, but it's a little tougher to pay the bills on all that stuff sometimes.
Sure.
So you got to do the other stuff too. And no, like I normally would get excited for something like an Exorcist film, and like you, I used to be kind of that
Hmm.
person that tried to enjoy going to the movies, and I always had something, even if I wasn't hyped for it. I'd still try to enjoy the time I'm seeing it, and I could nitpick on it and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, just the quality and the problems that we have now in comparison are just there is no real comparison. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Like they're too distant from each other. And I mean, sure, the same thing has happened in music and other avenues, but it's just strange that we live in a time where a lot of filmmakers dreamed of the things that we can do now and the technology that we have now, and it's just so little real originality or imagination seems to be coming out of Hollywood. And I mean, when something like One Piece is capturing everybody's imagination, that just goes to show you as it's not so much about the anime part. I think is it's the story itself, what they're about, what the show's about in general, is kind of a unique concept. It takes things that we know, but it matches them up in a way that we're not necessarily used to, and in doing so, it makes you feel like something fresh, even though it's a 30-year-old property or whatever it is. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, it's one of those things where if you do something like that you can take a concept or an idea or a genre and you can work with it in a way that's new and fresh for an audience, great. Even better. That's why I love Tarantino and that's why his films almost feel like it's the perfect combination of comfort food mixed with taking a chance and a risk on something new and different that you've never seen before.
Hmm.
And that's how he gets away with a lot of what he's doing because he drapes it in these elements that are so, as I said, comfort food, right? Like, or things that we're so used to in these kind of movies. And you can tell he's watched a lot of movies of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and that really
Hmm.
bleeds into his projects. And, if somebody can do that, I say more power to him. I know some people are like, oh, that's not even original. That's just copying things and whatever. Because there's a lot of times where somebody like Tarantino gets accused of that. But no, I don't think that should be discouraged. I am one of those that I love it when somebody can take things that we are cliche and out of date. And I mean, Deadwood is a great example of how it totally flipped the Western on its head compared to what we're used to at that point. And I mean, if you can do that and deconstruct it or do it in a certain way, because I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily call Deadwood a deconstruction of the Western so much as it is just a more realistic look at it. But at the same time, it also is a different kind of Western than anything we saw before. With the intrigue and and all that kind of stuff, and the Game of Thrones element kind of sorts to it, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, no, like if you can take something like that and really kind of bring something fresh to it, I think that sometimes can be just as admirable as bringing something wholly original to the table, because in fact sometimes that might even be tougher, right? I mean, I mean, it's almost like bringing back a whole musical genre on your own with a hit single. Rap music goes out of style, and all of a sudden somebody does a rap song and everybody loves it, and it's like, oh yeah, rap music.
Mm.
But it's so fresh and new and different. I mean, of course rap music hasn't gone out of style. I'm just trying to use that as an example, but you know what I mean.
Runner into chat says, unpopular opinion. I was kind of disappointed with Equalizer 3. I don't know if I was in the wrong mood or tired or what. Maybe I need to give it a rewatch.
I got to see it yet.
I mean, I know everybody hasn't enjoyed it to the extent that it's definitely been mixed review wise. My advice, Runner, yeah, give it a second look and see what you think. It's an interesting kind of mashup, because I've actually been calling it. I called it in my review an action horror movie, because he is very much like Michael Myers in this the way.
Yeah, I've heard a few people make that comparison. Yeah,
he does some of the kills, and it's one of those movies where there's no quarter given. Let's just put it that way. When he even says it at one point, just whatever you and your friends are doing, go do it someplace else. Please go do it somewhere else. And they don't. And just it's pretty much go time from there. And but yeah, now I've been hearing reviews about it where people are saying it was boring or it was predictable, and I'm like, what movie were you watching? Because I thought it was pretty fast paced. I mean, without credits, it's like an hour and 40. It's pretty tight. It's pretty fast paced, I thought. So
yeah.
I wasn't bored at all. I was edge of my seat the entire time.
Well, I'll have to check it out. Maybe it's one of those movies that's really mediocre, but yet since we're so desperate for decent entertainment, it feels so much more to it than what people are used to.
And as far as predictability, there's one thing that I figured out going in, and I turned out to be right, but it didn't bother me because it was something that, that makes sense. That would be the progression. And when you see it, especially if you've seen the other two movies, you'll know what I mean when they get to it. But it's like, okay, that was predictable, but it made sense. Of course, that thing was going to happen. But no, I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of it personally. But if I get that not everybody is going to go for it. Brett is saying Dune is the only movie I was looking forward to. It was really high on my list too. Oppenheimer was good, but the really good movies this year have been foreign films. Hollywood has stalled. Yeah, that's what we were saying. That 70s rock fan reviews Korean films, South Korean films. Chris Gore continues to go on and on about RRR. I need to finally sit down and watch that, But yeah, I mean, we are seeing really good movies out of Korea and out of India. They're making the movies we used to make here, because they're not infected by the woke.
Yeah, and that being said, I hate to do this to you, but I gotta go soon. So was there another question you may have wanted to hit before you lost me here?
No. That's
otherwise I promise you got me all week.
Every morning.
Yeah, okay. I'll come by next week, I promise you, and I'll stay as long as I can.
A part two.
Yeah, I feel bad about that. I'm sorry. I promised you I'd show up again, and last week it was just miscommunications, and
that was a miscue. Yeah,
I totally spaced it out, and so. That was my fault.
No
I
problem.
apologize.
No
So yeah,
problem. No
I
problem at
do
all.
have to get up in the morning before the morning show and go to the doctor's appointment. It's nothing important. I just got to get my stitches out of my toes. So,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
but it just sucks because of the timing of it. So,
Yeah.
but all right, man. Well, you have a good night, and
Will do.
I'll let you say goodbye to or do your thing or bring in somebody else or whatever you're gonna do for your stream here. But
Yeah, I'm gonna comment on a couple of things in the chat. Then I'm gonna wrap it up. I
all
appreciate
right.
you being here, Tom. I understand. I know you had a busy schedule. You were able to fit us in, and you'll be back next week.
No
Or two.
problem. I planned on giving you a little more time, but you can blame culture. Because
Okay.
he kept me hostage. He's like, "Can you just stay 15 more minutes? 15 more minutes?"
Yeah.
It's like, so yeah, you would have got a little more time with me if it wasn't for that. I apologize. So take it out on him.
No problem.
All right, guys. Thanks so much,
Okay.
and it's good
Take
to
care.
see a lot of you in the chat. Take care.
Bye. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, Tom Connors, and he will be back for the entire show next week. I want to go to Tim Hayes' comment here in the chat. What's based on a classic TV show, better to see the original series. I'm assuming you're talking about Equalizer. Yeah. Yeah, I highly recommend the original Equalizer TV series from the 80s. Now, there are changes between the TV series and the films. Obviously, McCall's race swapped. Yeah, there's another character that's gender swapped. Yes, it's Boston and not New York. But the thing that I like about the Equalizer films is that the themes are intact. And that's something that they forgot about with the Queen Latifah series, which was just about checking off boxes. When it comes to the films, they kept what made the original show work. And the people who are doing Star Wars now have forgotten that. The people who do Star Trek now have forgotten that. The Equalizer films have two of the original producers involved. So they're running a tight ship. You have a director in Antoine Fuqua who understands the material, who respects it. You have Denzel Washington, one of the greatest actors of his time, who can look at a character like Robert McCall and go, I understand where that man comes from. I can play that. And that's what we need. Respect for the source material. And like I said, are there things that they changed? Yeah. But the things they changed made sense. And the themes are intact. And that's why I like those movies. And to go back to Troy putting this in the chat, this is the Indiegogo for Island in the Stars. Ladies and gentlemen, we talk about supporting independent media. Supporting independent creators. Tom Conkle is a man who understands what we've been saying, what we want out of Hollywood. This is a guy who gets it. Go over to the Indiegogo page, support his film, watch the trailer, watch the behind the scenes, watch what he's already done, watch his previous film, Trouble Is My Business. This is a man who gets it. Who understands that we want original stories, good characters. We don't want this political bullshit, crammed down our throats. When I say at the end of my shows, this is how we win, Tom Conkle is a man who understands that. Eric July understands it with ISOM. And that's why I support him. Okay, now I understand the chat's gotten a little ahead of me here, so I'm gonna go back a little bit here. Troy says Island in the Stars is going to be an Australian film. It is. It's going to be shot in Australia. It looks like it's going to be a largely Australian cast, and the cast that he has in mind, if he can get that cast, holy shit. This is going to be Dirty Dozen, Magnificent Seven, Ocean's 11, all rolled into one. If he can get the cast that he wants. RRR surprised the hell out of me. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about that movie. Unfortunately, I haven't seen it yet. That's something I need to do. Maybe I'll get to do that this week. I don't know. Hopefully sometime real soon. And Tom saying, "Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming on." And we will have Tom for the whole show next time around. Hey, real life does intrude sometimes, and you do get double booked on occasion. It's happened to me. So yeah, he's definitely going to be back. Please support Island in the Stars. It's an amazing project that will only get better. Indeed. Support indie films. Island in the Stars looks awesome. Okay. Tim saying, I'd rather be a one and done movie like David Lynch did, less depressing that way. I don't know what you're referring to there, Tim, but I'm a fan of all things David Lynch. So that's good. I still need to see Inland Empire. I've never seen that movie straight through. That's one I need to get to. And one thing I need to get to is a rewatch of Twin Peaks, because that's something I really want to do as well, because I never saw season 3. So I've seen little bits and pieces of it here and there on YouTube, but I need to sit down and watch the whole thing. And I know Troy's been encouraging me to do that. It says RRR is overrated. It's good, don't get me wrong, but I think it's more popular due to what Hollyoak has been making. Makes good seem great. Here's the thing with me, Brett, is that my idea of what makes a good movie has never changed. It didn't change during the pandemic. It hasn't changed during the strikes. It hasn't changed during through this whole woke nonsense. I still like the same kind of movies for the same reasons. You know, but the quality of many of them has gone down. Will I be the guy who sees RRR and wonder what the hell everybody was so hyped over? Maybe, but you know, I'd still like to see it for myself to make sure. You know, like I said, there are people who don't like Equalizer 3, and that's fine. Again, that's their opinion. But you know, I loved it. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. It was great. You know, this great little fast-paced, you know, 100-minute action movie. Troy says, "Did I hear David Lynch?" Yes, please. And yeah, Troy, I got to get back to you on that because we definitely have to do like a rewatch or something. Tim says he was talking about Dune. Yeah, I was really looking forward to Dune. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a little while longer. But I think when that happened, that was just proof that this strike was going to go on to at least the end of the year. Now, there are people who say that Dune would be better as a television series. You know, maybe. You know, I can actually see it as a series. I could. But people keep, you know, kind of trying to conflate Dune and Game of Thrones, and I think that's the wrong way to go. And I know Boomer's going to start sticking me with spears for saying this. Game of Thrones is the most overrated television show in recent memory. That and Lost, you know, just overrated, overproduced. Ultimately, doesn't go anywhere. I don't see the point in it. But so whenever somebody tries to compare something to Game of Thrones, that I'm automatically already out. But the thing about Dune is, I'm well aware way before I even knew what Game of Thrones was. There was Dune. So if anything, Dune inspired Game of Thrones, not the other way around. Dune isn't GOT and it isn't Lord of the Rings. No, it isn't. It's its own thing. Thank you. I know. I'm so busy. No time for more streams. Yeah, that's yeah. We've really got to sit down because I kind of have this narrow window now of when I can do things, and when I'm available, that doesn't necessarily mean everybody else is going to be available. But definitely, Troy, behind the scenes, we got to sit down and figure something out. Rather we do it on my channel or we do it on yours, or we simulcast one or the other. We because you and I are such Twin Peaks fans, we have got to sit down and figure out something to do. And I definitely want to bring Boomer in, or somebody who maybe isn't as aware of who isn't kind of up to date with this show or hasn't seen it, to have that counterpoint of somebody who's seeing it for the first time. Let's see. Troy says Game of Thrones started out great, but got bad real fast. By the end, it sucked so bad I had Netter sell all of our GOT DVDs. I still have mine, but yeah, I'm going to get rid of them, I think. Yeah, it honestly, it loses me after season 1. I will never get into GOT for so many reasons. Unless he can finish the books, man, I ain't going to bother with them. I can tell you that. You better make time to eat, sleep in the bathroom for more extra stuff to watch. Yeah, yeah, I'm trying, man. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely things I would like to do. One of them is a rewatch of Twin Peaks, definitely. And when we get to when we get to season 3, that's when it's going to become a first watch for me. Agreed. Boomer would love it, but he doesn't know. Yeah. So you're both Peaks fans. What do you think of Twin Perfect's take? Think it's close, but nowhere near Lynch's Mindscape. I have not seen it yet. I'm not familiar with Twin Perfect, so I'm going to have to look them up. Not even the books. Yeah. Because I don't think George R.R. Martin is going to finish them. I haven't even heard of that. No, neither have I. So thank you, Brett, for making us aware of that. Alrighty, folks. I think we've about reached the end here. I want to remind everyone of my show earlier today, Unscripted. Please check that out. That's every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. And of course, we will be returning next week. The Other Side of Midnight, episode 19. Special guest Tom Connors, part 2. Yeah, Tom returning for the show next week. So check us out. Same time. All right, I have reviews up right now for Equalizer 3. And so you'll get to see my out of the theater review of Equalizer 3. And I think you kind of know where I stand on it based on what I've said so far tonight. But please check out my review. And I also have a review up right now for an independent horror movie called It Lives Inside. Interesting if flawed movie. So check out my review there. And of course, if you have seen either movie, let me know what you think. Or even better yet, film your own review. That's what I want to encourage you to do. Okay, we've been encouraging independent creators and supporting physical media. You are creators. Build your channels. I want to hear from you. Also, on the fun side of things, over on my community page, I have a poll up right now. Should I review the Ahsoka series? Yes or no? Go over to my community page, scroll down, and you will find the poll. Vote. Let yourself be heard. Also, another poll I'm going to put up is I want to give you guys a nickname. My loyal subscribers, those of you who are always here for every live stream, what do you want to call yourselves? Right now we have Sceners and Clippers. So whichever one of those that sounds good to you, or if you have other suggestions, please let me know on my community page. All right. That is it. I want to thank everybody who showed up tonight in the chat. I want to once again thank Tom Connors. I also want to say hello to everybody in the chat. Troy, Netters, Boomer, Plush Time TV, D. Penzak, Joker Voice, Jesse, Tim, let me see if I missed anybody. Runner, Adega Outlaw, Brett, all right. If if I missed you, I apologize. I also want to thank everybody lurking in the background, because there's always one or two. That's okay. Listen in. You do not have to engage the chat necessarily. As long as you enjoyed the show, I'm happy. Troy says, how about deleted derelicts? Okay, that's another good one. I gotta write. All right, I gotta remember that and write this down. All right, so we have Sceners, Clippers, and deleted derelicts. Okay. I am actually writing this down. All right. Brett says, I don't do Disney. Won't even sell for their content. Is that at all it is? Content, not entertainment. Yeah. Deleted Troopers. That sounds grim. All right, but we will write that down. Deleted Troopers. Writing like on paper. Yeah, believe it or not, I actually do that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to once again thank all of you for being here. Thank you for watching. Hit the like, share out the stream, say hello in the comments because it's good for the algorithm. If you are new to the channel and you like what you see, please subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications, watch a video so YouTube knows that you are not a bot. Tim says writing on paper takes a lot of smarts to do it right. Yeah, and you would be surprised how many people can't. All right. From HQ, good night. Take care. Stay strong, because this is how we win.